You're watching Rootstv Nigeria. The screening of nominees, ministerial nominees sent in by the president is ongoing at the National Assembly, and President Muhammadu Buhari has said that those he has chosen are people that will give the future of Nigeria, people that will change the face of Nigeria. My guest here, Adeni Kunu, will look at some of these issues regarding the nominees and the fact that the president said these are the guys that will bring the change to the next level, according to him. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Very much,
The president is saying that he wants to build a better Nigeria, a future where when the young ones come and say, yes, this was done by President Muhammadu Buhari. Do you see this working with the list of those that he has sent to the National Assembly for screening?
One of the anomalies of having a 43-man list without portfolio was very well evident with the past set of ministers that he had. We knew the challenges that bedeviled a number of ministries, particularly with those we felt were square pegs in round holes. I know that there was the last time I was on this platform, I talked about the problems with the sport ministry. I must also emphasize here that a number of other ministries, even the justice ministry itself with Malami there, had a lot of challenges. And that didn't reflect well as far as we're concerned. So for the president to have sent a 43-man list without their portfolios in the first place is the beginning of errors. I believe very well that if the president had actually had, in company of the names, the portfolio of those persons, we could have had specific questions asked regarding the competence of those that he intends to fill the respective portfolios. But sadly, we didn't have it. So I would say, in my own very candid assessment, that the president has only addressed issues on the surface and has not started going deep, I should say.
Talking about Malami now, which you have mentioned, we have just a short clip of what the guardians of democracy did say about his nomination and the fact that he was able to change the face of the judiciary system in the first term of President Muhammadu Buhari. Take a listen.
I would want to particularly elaborate, elucidate, throw more light on the nomination of the erstwhile Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. There were several achievements of this individual in office. One of the pronounced facts is the recovery of the Abacha loot. These monies have been stashed away in foreign banks for decades, and nothing has been heard of these monies until the coming of Abubakar Malami. Huge sums of monies were recovered in hundreds of millions of dollars. Translating it to naira, you're talking of billions of naira, perhaps even in hundreds of billions of naira. And we know what that can do in terms of infrastructural development. We know what that can do in terms of reversing the trends of economic backwardness. And of course, that also has some roles to play in the economic recovery which the government recorded in the last administration.
Now, back to the president. I mean, he has mentioned that he has a lot of confidence in this list which he has sent to the National Assembly. Is this a joker card for the president?
Well, I'm beginning to wonder where the joker is, because if you look at it in denotative terms, whenever you use the joker, that rounds off any kind of challenge from your opponent.
Indeed.
But remember very well that the opposition called this a very unsatisfactory kind of put together names by the president. So if you look at it, you'd even realize that many persons, apart from the opposition PDP, really have made comments regarding it. Let's look at the number of persons that we have there. I want to go to Osun State very emphatically again and look at the person of Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola. He left his position as a governor owing salaries in excess of 6 months. Many persons said he did not steal, but he did not administer the funds of the state properly. So fiscal impropriety resulted in the problem he had. what is that which you'd say makes him merit such nomination? Is a question that we have to continue to ask because we need answers. If you look at many other ministries, do not forget that some Akpabio, for instance, who came to the floor, we know very well that an Akpabio has a case hanging on his head. Akpabio got the nomination. Akpabio, after the height of comedic acts, took a bow and took a walk away.
Talking about the bow and go syndrome, this group of activists say there is actually nothing wrong in the take a bow and go syndrome, which has bedeviled the entire screening exercise.
Well, let me first of all make people understand that preceding the names comes the curriculum vitae of the respective ministers. That simply means they are seeking to occupy positions as employees of the Nigerian people. When you...
Do you think they are failing to realize that?
No, I think it's a complete failure from the legislators, from the executive, and I also look at the judiciary as a judiciary with a lot of faults. So it appears as if we have three arms of government not quite having sight to behold the inappropriateness of the entire process. If you look at it, I have to say this. You do not take a bow and leave. If I need a job, I have submitted my CV and the owners of the job deems me fit to get an interview, I will be questioned based on the things I've done before and what I intend to bring to bear. But oftentimes we see, even for instance, when Malemi was on board, he was asked a question. As the Minister of Justice in the last administration, what is it that you could say to the fact that people have been vindicated by the court, have been told to be released, but they are still in detention? Do you know he didn't answer the question? Those are the kinds of issues that we'll continue to tackle because it didn't come to me as somebody who is forthright. So you have a minister who traveled from here to Dubai to meet a certain Maina that is still a wanted man in this country. So if a Minister of Justice could be dealing with a man that is a wanted person, a man that actually shortchanged the Nigerian people, got promoted while he was on suspension, while he was wanted, was taking salaries, it tells a lot about the person of Malemi.
But do you think a lot was swept under the carpet under his tenure as the Justice Minister?
Excuse me, lots of things. Do not forget that when they repatriated certain amounts of money from Switzerland, the Apache loot, they fingered him as one of those that actually said certain amounts should be deducted and kept for the people that were so-called consultants. I have to say that this Malemi, former Minister of Justice, had his hands in a lot of things that you should not have a Minister of Justice into. And I feel that alone should have actually discredited him earning another term with this current administration.
The president is really keen about the economy of the country. And as such, one would think that the list he sent will be made of, say, half of technocrats. Well, do you see the economy changing in next term?
Don't forget that there are certain things the president emphasized in his last administration. They talked about economic growth and recovery plan. They talked about Anchor Borrowers program, one of the initiatives under that. They talked about trader money. They talked about a lot of initiatives along the line of agriculture. They talked about empowering people that are in the marketplaces, that if they start with like 10,000, if you're able to pay back within the stipulated period, you get more money. But if you look at the period where they rolled out the plan, particularly the trader money, many persons criticized this administration for rolling it out at a period when they were to go to the polls. That simply means it's more or less like a way to stimulate people so that they could vote for the administration. And if you look at it, the trader money has since stopped. So that simply means it was meant to actually be used at a period when we're going into the elections. Now let's look at the policy document of the country itself. You're talking about the budget. The budget is in excess of 8 trillion. Nobody at the moment is addressing how we will fund
the budget.
The budget. Do not forget that the 2018 budget, which was in excess of 9 trillion, had in excess about 60% of that budget were for recurrent expenditure. Nigeria borrowed in excess of 2.6 trillion naira, just also in addition to fund that budget, and many other debts, particularly from China. One of the things told us by this administration is that we'll be going back to China to get some money. Of course, they know that exchange rate, which is less than 45 $45 per barrel will also be considered to actually fund the budget in terms of crude oil. But there are other things that need explaining that we've not been told.
Indeed, indeed. Let's leave it there. I think these are issues that we will continue to be hammering on in the coming days as the screening continues at the National Assembly. You're still watching Rootstv Nigeria. Thank you, Adini Ikunu, for being our guest. I'm Itogi Mo Edit. Stay with us.